This is season 4, and I am on a mission to help creatives become the most loved versions of themselves. I want to help you step into health in every single area of your life and pursue the authentic creative expression that you feel called to and that only you can. The world feels crazy right now, and we need healthy creatives more than ever. So let's get into it. I'm Courtney Lancaster, and this is the Heal Create podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Heal Create podcast. You guys, I have somebody so special that I am just thrilled to introduce you to. And I mentioned to her right before this podcast that I picked up her book when I was taking a big break from all of my trauma textbook obsession a few years ago, and was also in a really hard time in my life. And it was one of the most refreshing, inspiring, healing books that I have read, and I love it. And I'm so happy to have the author here, Ajiri. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
It's Ajiri Akai.
It's Ajiri Aki.
Ajiri Aki.
Yes, I always tell people
Ajiri
it's like
Aki.
last menagerie, Ajiri Aki, and Aki's like in Spanish or in Japanese, Aki.
Okay, gotcha. Ajiri Aki. So right now, where exactly do you live? I mean,
I live
exactly.
in Paris, France.
Okay.
I have lived here for 15 years now. I cannot even believe it.
Wow. Have you really?
Yes. And even before the 15 years, there was the time that I lived here as a student. So that
Yes.
I don't really count that as my official time, but I mean, if I added it all up, I think it'd be like 16 and a half years, but really 15 years.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, kind of just give us the basics of who you are and kind of what you're passionate about?
Yes, I am a writer. I am a designer. I am also a curator of beautiful experiences, and as well as I source antiques for interior designers and private clients looking to come find beautiful antiques. And I do this
Yeah.
through my studio, Madame de la Maison, which used to be an online store, but now it's my creative studio for designing and for sourcing. And what am I passionate about? Oh my gosh. I would say I'm really passionate about the idea about life being, finding beauty and joy in life. I'm passionate about ways to do that, whether it's through my work, whether it's through, how I live my life, but I'm really interested in, like I say to everyone that it's really my North Star and really what guides a lot of what I do.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, you can definitely tell in all of the work that you have put out there. One of the kind of guiding, speaking of North Star questions for me and what I walk clients through and in this community is, who inspires you, with the idea that whoever inspires you embodies your potential or a piece of it. And so one of the ways back home to ourselves, if we lose our way, is to just start paying attention to who inspires us. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, was because you talk about a life of wanting to pursue like daily celebration, a celebration of beauty and connection. And that is like a through line of your life. But I heard this phrase somewhere along the way a few years ago. It was some quote from somebody, said, I've never met a relaxed woman. And I just remember
Yes,
being so
yeah,
angry.
yeah. I love that quote. It's Nicola Jane Hobbs.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
And being so also like determined, which is
yeah,
I was determined to be relaxed.
yes.
And that is that's the tone that you have, that you
Mm.
speak with. What did it take to become a relaxed woman? Tell us.
I also really love that quote, and
Yes.
I shared it on my Instagram in this video where I was sort of reading Nicola's quote. And I've always loved that quote because it's really who I am. And I was probably not a relaxed woman before. I was absolutely not a relaxed woman when I was living in New York City, and I was living in a way where I thought that I needed to always be moving, having more, doing more, and it's also probably a little bit of like Nigerian culture and culture from the United States. The idea that if you're idle, it's laziness, or you're not
Yeah.
achieving or getting towards your goals if you're not doing a whole lot of everything. So moving to Paris and realizing that the pace of life is very different here. People take their time for their morning coffee. They definitely have their lunch. They don't sit in front of their computer eating it. They take
Mm.
vacation. This change in a pace of life when I needed things to be fast sort of in a way forced me to slow down. Uh, and appreciate those moments of slowing down. Like when I drop my kids off at school and all the parents are just like standing around having coffee, and I'm like, don't you guys have anything to do?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I slowly start to join in those in that way of life, and I started to enjoy it. I realized that I love living that way. And also, with the women that I bring to my retreat, a lot of them say, they don't know how to be a relaxed woman.
Mm.
And it's really sad to hear them say that. And, you know, it, it's something that I like to do with my retreats, but also being a relaxed woman. And I know some people kind of say, well, you have to have a certain kind of income to be able to do that. That's not really what it has to look like. It's also
Yeah.
showing my kids, it's like, if it's a Saturday, okay, yes, it's really beautiful and sunny. I don't really feel like I need to be doing 100 things outside. I feel like reading my
Mm.
book. That could be a relaxed woman.
Mm.
It's just like when we're on vacation, every day doesn't have to be like we have to check off this insane list of things to do to see all the sights. It might just be like, we're gonna go see something in the morning, and then, mommy wants to lay by the pool. And then even the kids will just be like, Mom, we want to do this, we want to do this. I'm like, mm-mm, go entertain yourselves. I'm reading my book. I want them to see a relaxed woman, which is me, and they
Oof.
can definitely. My kids can tell you I'm a relaxed woman in the sense of I love to lay in the sun and read my book. I love to go sit at a cafe with my friends, and we just like sit around. Whoever's going to show up, it starts as a table of one, turns into a table of four. I want to model that for my children, and I love that my other friends see me do that, and it just encourages other people to do that. And the women on my retreat, I'm like, we're going to be busy in the morning, and then the afternoon, just you guys can do whatever you want. Lay by the pool, get to know each other. This is all part of the experience. So it's just reminding yourself.
That sounds like such a lovely day. I'm like thinking about the people that drop their kids off, and then we all run to the gym, and then we all run home so that we can
Yes,
do work. I
it's
mean, it's like a hard cycle to break.
it really is. And honestly, and I repeat, like it I didn't start off that way. It was like acknowledging that I wanted something differently, and seeing how other people could still do their jobs, could still reach their goals without being exhausted and overscheduled. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
possible.
Yes, totally. Really quickly, you said something about retreats. Can you tell me about your retreats?
Yes, I host retreats, 2 retreats every year, in the south of France, in Provence. And I've been doing this is going to be my 6th year. And the retreat is called the Good Life Retreat. And it's about, 7 or 8
Wow.
women. And really, when I was first deciding to plan retreats, I remember being a little like stressed out that before I'd even posted this retreat. And I said, okay, it's a retreat. Most people are doing like a yoga retreat, a meditation retreat. As some retreat with a very specific agenda. And my retreat, the agenda was just to live a really good life and allow women a place to just, experience beauty and joy and just be as well. So of course they want to see the city, the
Mm,
place they're visiting, but they also like to just,
decompress.
relax, just take it easy.
Yeah.
And also, like, when women are in groups together, they're really supportive of one another. So they enjoy that, the lunch conversations or dinner conversations, getting to know other people, but without having to take care of other people. So
Yeah.
we make sure
We
that,
do that too.
yes, you're not taking care of anyone on this retreat. Me and my team are taking care of you.
Yeah.
And you are really getting, 5 days to just, and also because some people they all fly over here. They then tack on a couple extra days at the end of the trip to go do something, to travel, and it's
Yeah.
just a lot of them don't really, they're not taking that time out, so it means a lot to them, and I love every
Wow.
story, and it's very contagious how they share their stories with each other,
Yeah.
about not ever taking time off for themselves or doing a trip, like, saying, "Oh, I didn't really need this trip, but I just made it happen because I just was like, I'm gonna go." And they're traveling alone. There's only we had two best friends who traveled, and then a mother and daughter that traveled
Wow.
together. And that mother and daughter was really interesting because the daughter basically, when we said, "Well, what made you come?" and she said, "Well, I looked at my mom and I said I never wanted to be a woman who doesn't know how to relax and find joy." And we're like, "Oh, mom, how does that make you
Oh,
feel?" Because I get it. She's like, "I wasn't that kind of mom." It was like, I filled
wow.
up their schedules. I did all this. I wanted to be the perfect mom. I wanted them to have all the perfect opportunities. And she's like, I see, yeah,
Wow.
she sees
Yeah,
that
totally.
who's an adult is now, "Mom, that's not what we wanted. You're always so busy." And it was always like rush, rush, rush. So it was, I mean, we were all kind of like,
Yes. Wow, brave.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite moment from the retreat that kind of pops up, like an impactful or just a moment that you'll never forget?
Well, that one was really impactful for me, that
Sure.
moment. I mean, so many, to be honest with you. There was a woman named Donna who came, and it was her 80th birthday year. And I remember thinking, like,
Wow.
okay, when her application came through, and was like, wow, are you up for this? And then we had a video call, and Donna was the most amazing person that any of us have ever met. I mean,
Wow.
she had us in tears one evening around the dinner table when she was just talking about her life and how she says, even at 80 years old, this is her year. She's just celebrating all year long, traveling and doing whatever it is she wants to do. And she wants people to realize, that she has energy, and she's just because she's 80 doesn't mean that she's, to be forgotten, or, she's like, no, I have
Wow.
so much to share. I have so much to give. And she's like, and I still have, and she felt like she had still so much to learn.
Wow.
And it just made all of us sit around and think about our own lives and like, wow, I want to be Donna when I'm 80, even if, she's widowed, and
Sure.
but she's like, I still have so much and I want to travel and meet people and have experiences. So Donna, and she was like, I want to live the good life. She's like, I want to keep reminding myself to live the good life. So Donna really touched our hearts. We were in absolute tears every single day. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was really, really, really moving for sure.
Wow. That is something that I have to look into for myself. I like just wrote on my notepad, retreat.
Yeah.
I need to
No, I mean,
look
it's
into that.
it's really it's
Oh,
also,
sounds
some
amazing.
people some people who come who've, another woman, Michaela, she had never done a trip for herself or traveled, and she was a little bit more shy, but here she was. Oh my god, Michaela, when she went and had her hot chocolate at this cafe, and she's taking a sip, and she just starts going, "Oh, oh my god, you guys, this hot," like, "Michaela, what's going on?" She's like, "It's real chocolate. It's not Swiss Miss powder." It
Oh
just
my gosh. Oh my
And
gosh,
I
amazing.
mean, her joy of everything that touched her mouth that week and how excited she was. She savored every moment of that trip, every moment of that trip.
Wow.
And I also want, I mean, I still talk to all these people. We're on WhatsApp, we're talking to each other, or texting me.
Wow.
Just like I remember Michaela when I think about slowing down and savoring a moment,
Yeah, right. Totally.
you know?
Yes. Wow. Um, I want to ask you about your process of finding basically alignment. You found a life that was aligned for you that was, I think, completely different than the life that you w- were than your childhood. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, very fair.
That's incredibly difficult for people
Yes.
to do and
Yeah.
so incredibly inspiring. I think a lot of us have a call to alignment, to a life of alignment that's like totally different than what we're actually
Mhm.
doing. And I would love to get into like the process of that and like what were some of the pings along the way from the universe that like this was your direction if you were to go and kind of look back.
Ooh, this is such a good question. I I'm a Nigerian Jamaican girl who grew up in Austin, Texas,
Wow.
in the suburbs of Austin. There was no talk of culture. No one took me to a theater or a ballet, but I it was inside of me. It was something that I wanted. I started looking at fashion magazines and I started seeing what people could make with their hands, what people could make with their inspiration, with their ideas. And I became obsessed with the idea of, living in New York City and working in fashion. And then I moved to Fort Worth to go to TCU, uh, not very far from home, still, a little bit more culture, but didn't even really know. I didn't really know, no one was guiding me towards what I should be doing. There were no
Right.
steps.
Yeah.
There was no,
Yeah.
there weren't a lot of books on the market at this time, um, giving me any tips about what I should do. So it was just like a desire that was sort of like burning inside me. And I would do things like maybe I started a French club at the university where, we'd get together and watch French movies because suddenly I was, Paris Fashion Week is where it's happening and, things are happening in Paris. So I started like educating myself little by little in ways that I could access beauty and culture, which were magazines, books, movies, like constantly trying to have a visual language, but also like an inspirational language, to know what I wanted. You have to expose yourself to this. And I think it's that desire that I had, to teach myself, to get myself closer and closer to it
Right.
is really how I could just envision that I could have this different life.
Mhm.
And when I then came to Paris as a graduate student for a summer, I had no idea that when I signed up for grad school, that at the end of the first year, they were going to take us to Paris for 5 weeks, and they paid for the whole thing.
Yes.
I had
Wow.
no idea if I would have known when I was applying, I would have
Oh,
done every rain dance on the planet to make sure I got accepted to that grad
right.
program, but I did. I just did it because I knew that
Wow.
I was desiring like the visual references and more knowledge about design. And that's what I just wanted. I wanted to be around beautiful things, beautiful objects. I wanted to work in museums. I was working at a museum, volunteering and interning and
Yeah.
freelancing. And I just put myself near the thing that I wanted,
Yeah.
which was this
Right.
life that was constantly full of beautiful things. I put myself there, volunteered, interned, then they hired me. So by
Wow.
doing that, like you said, alignment, I guess I aligned myself in a place, I put myself in alignment in what I wanted for my life, which was exposure to more beautiful things. And next thing Bard is sending us off to Paris for 5 weeks. And then
Wow.
I get a grant to stay and do my research for 2 extra months. So then I end up here for 3 months.
Wow.
Um, and it was, then this moment in Paris that I'm like, I love this place. Like I can never leave, but I couldn't stay. But I got
Right.
another grant. I kept applying. I was online. I'm like, I got to get back.
Breadcrumb by breadcrumb. Yeah.
Yes. And then I came back, as a student, further research and, went back to my New York life again. And then I guess it was still in me because 9 months later, I met my husband who lived in Paris. So then got married to this guy
Man.
and, moved right back to live here like locally.
Wow.
So I guess when you say alignment, I didn't, sometimes I do walk around and I look at my life and I'm like, I live in Paris and I do
Yeah.
this amazing work. And my face is on a book that's like sold, thousands upon thousands of copies across the world. And sometimes I'm just like, wow. But I wanted it so bad that I did little things intentionally without knowing the bigger intention that was,
Yes.
my
Right.
intention was that I desired something, which was, I wanted to work in design and beauty. I wanted to just tap into that. And along the way came me learning this lesson about joy and how I wanted to live my life, how I desire to live my life. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
also realizing there's something else that I remember now happening when I was in Paris the first time as a student. And I remember thinking about, I was hanging out with a bunch of young people that were, just had no big goals or anything. And here I am in Paris with this group of people that had no big, goals for what they were going to be doing. And it just popped into my head. I never spend a lot of time like vocally or writing down what it actually is. I think I was just like at that present moment, because I
Yeah.
was writing a thesis and I was like, I need to stop spending so much time on like what I hate about my life because I'm like, ugh, these guys are getting on my nerves. And that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Energy of my so much of my
Yes.
time was like, oh, I can't stand these people. And that I
Yes.
need to stop all that and spend all my time thinking about what I do want. So
Yes.
what I would do, I'd walk to the metro every day and I would just visualize and say like, okay, I really want to live in the city. I want to have really great friends. And I would just like think, I would just like replay it
Yeah.
over my head quietly to myself. And I would just keep doing it. So I was like focusing my energy and myself on what it is I wanted for my life as opposed to
Yeah.
constantly complaining about the things that were getting on my nerves. And I remind myself that I take myself back to that whenever I'm feeling like
Yeah.
unhappy with my life. I have a little notebook where I write all the amazing things I've done. So if the problem is like stop Ajiri thinking about this negative, just be like, well, guess what? You did this, this, and this. Focus on that.
Yeah.
Or I instead of like what I don't like, what write down what is it that I do want.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
little ways, you don't even realize it, but then you start working towards it.
Yeah. Totally. Some people might call that manifesting.
Hmm.
And
I was trying
I
not to use those words
I know.
because I know right now, like
I know.
everybody
It's so cliche.
fluff, but
Right.
even without
Totally.
using those words of like
Totally.
I was going to say the universe and manifesting, it's
Right.
just like it's just like a fact. If you
Well, it's
focus
a
on what
lot
you
of
want,
neuroscience.
yeah, you'll reach
Yes,
what you do
totally.
want.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of science on that as well. And there's a lot of there is a lot of nonsense and fluff out there. And, but I think to your amazing credit, like looking at your life, that is the evidence of like intention and focus
Yeah,
and gratitude and like really paying attention to what inspires you. Like that will build a life, just like complaining and rushing and stress will also build a certain kind of life as well. So like,
100%. And
yes.
I often tell this story about how when I was interested in being a stylist in New York, and I was an assistant, and everybody would talk about these references, these things that I didn't know what they were talking about. They were like, oh darling, and All About Eve, and oh, we're going to do this like Marilyn Monroe, and I had never seen any of these movies. I didn't know the references. So what did I do? I spent every day renting movies, reading books.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to know everybody they're talking about. I'm going to know all about
Yeah.
I'm going to be able to tell you every movie Joan Crawford's been
Yeah.
in, what she's worn, and been like, oh, darling, Adrian, the costume designer. Like, I needed to know it. So I did it. I was intentional about saying, this is
Yeah.
going to be a good stylist. I want to have good references. So I'm going to know about art movements, people, references.
So it sounds like you had just enough light for your next step. You had just enough like inspiration for like what's the next step that I want to take towards the things that light me up. And you were like sort of faithful to keep taking those steps and like they would always lead you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. One of the stories in your book that I really loved was you were talking about how you spent one day. It was like maybe your first day in Paris. It was just you by yourself
Yes,
in Paris. Do I have that story right? You
absolutely.
like took the train to go to
Yeah.
Paris by yourself and
Yes.
there was something immediately that felt like home to you and I'm wondering what was it and what immediately felt different from where you came from?
I took the train over from London. I was 20 years old. I was living in London studying theater, even though I'm not a theater major, but I was following my roommate because I was like, ooh, trip abroad.
Okay.
Gonna
Yeah,
go.
gotcha.
Um, but I love theater. I'm a theater junkie.
Yes.
But
Same.
what felt different was as I walked around the city, it was a beautiful sunny day, and it was the ease at which I felt everybody living their lives.
Mhm.
People were sitting in parks, talking to each other. They were sitting at restaurants, having long lunches. They were having cafes, staring out into the street at nothing, at people. They were walking up and down the street, not fast, just walking, it felt as I it was like a movie. Like you looked around and everybody was just living life, and it looked so calming, and I
Yeah.
wanted that feeling of just like like
Right.
being in a space which was so different. I wouldn't have known it at the time because I hadn't been to New York, but that like a fast-paced life, or even my Texas life was like you're getting in your car, you're driving, you're not really interacting with anybody. People were interacting, but they were also not interacting if they didn't need to. They were just sitting on
Right.
grass, or
They were being.
they were being. And I truly desired that feeling of just being, whether it's, I don't know, there were flower shops everywhere, flowers, out onto the street. It felt like a life that I wanted,
Yeah.
that ease, and I just felt that I felt awe and wonder at everything I saw, and I wanted to feel that in my daily life. And I think
Yeah.
as a 20-year-old that, I wasn't experiencing that in any way. I knew that's something I wanted. This like
Yes.
the ease, the being, the awe and wonder of just like, ooh, oh wow, oh my God, where's that building from? Oh my God, that looks old. I don't know anything about it, but wow, like just,
Yeah. Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
yeah, and and that was at 20. And imagine as we get older, the desire to constantly feel awe and wonder, and little shocks of joy in daily life. So I think that changed me because I was always desiring it. And
Right.
even when I went away after that, turning 20, and I went and lived a different life in New York, I think it didn't really gel with me because I'd already had a glimpse of what I think my deeply I wanted and desired, and I made my way back to it.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
took 10 years, but I made my way back to it.
Yeah. Can you talk about how so I think that the being and just the human beings like relaxed and enjoying each other and just the joie de vivre, the like joy of everyday living,
Yeah.
combined with like beauty and celebration, um, are like seem to be like two of your biggest values. And I'm curious if you could talk about the China. You had this article that came out.
Yes.
Was it in 2020?
Yes, it was. It was in 2020.
Yes. There's an
Yeah.
article that you wrote about your mom's China that impacted so many people. Can you talk about that and what that story was about?
Yes. I'm still in shock to this day about how the impact this article had. I wrote an article about using the
At
good
the right
china.
time.
Yeah, exactly. We were all,
Jeez.
trapped away and, wondering if we would ever get to leave our homes. And, my mother had this beautiful wedding china that she worshiped and loved and thought it was so beautiful. And so I, in turn, also thought it was so special. She had it locked away in a china cabinet. So you could just see it, but you couldn't really use it. And I would
Right.
always ask her about using it. When are we going to eat off? She's like, no, 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 I'm waiting for a special occasion. No, 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 let's wait, let's wait. And I just pestered her and pestered her and pestered her. And then Easter was coming up, and I was like, okay, my mom is a devout Christian. So, like, this is a special occasion. Like, we're using it today. It's special. She said special occasion. So I was like, Mom, it's a special occasion, remember? So, we're having friends over for Easter. Like, can we use the special wedding china today? And she was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Special occasion. So we set the table together. I remember this, the utter joy I felt of like, one, doing it with her and finally using something that she had like put so much love and joy and like it was so special to her. So I was young. I didn't know. I don't know. It was special to her. It was
Right.
special to me.
Yeah.
Plus, it was
Yeah.
beautiful. We got to look at it every day. We walked into the kitchen
Absolutely.
behind
Yes,
glass.
absolutely. Yeah.
So we set that table. I was really excited. She looked at it and then she was like, okay, let's put this all away. And I was like, wait, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, no, 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 it's going to get broken. Your brothers, like, it's fine. We got to set the table. We did it. Let's put it away.
Mm.
So I was just like so sad and defeated putting that china
Oh,
back behind the glass, waiting for when I could try again to tell her that it would be a special occasion to use this china. Finally, I could use it and, enjoy what, something she thought was so special. And my mother that special day, I say, never came for her or for me because my mother passed away when I was 12, so
Mm,
shortly after, this Easter story, and she never used it, and it was something that she loved and thought it was so special that and she never even ate a toast off of it. Rice,
yeah.
nothing. A lettuce leaf, never ate anything off of it. But she loved it
Wow.
and thought it was special, and it was just tucked away. So, sadly, after she died, it, vanished from the house with all, left and right. So I didn't get it. Uh, and I remember thinking about this story that I don't really want to be that kind of person that has something that I think is so special and so precious and amazing. And I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting for a time to use it. And that never comes. Like we only have this life, that we know
Right.
of. I don't know about anything else. I only know about the
Yeah,
the
right.
life experience that I'm having.
Right.
And if we have to just live it, whether it's
Yeah.
the objects that we use or the things that we do. So, of course, for me, it started as a story about using the good china, using the things that we love. I and collect antiques, but these antiques have lasted for centuries, and they've been used for years
Yes,
and
right. They haven't been locked away in china cabinets.
no, they're used.
Right.
I go to these flea markets, they're out on tables on the street, and they're used. And I meet people who have using their families china. So it started for me as a story about um, number one, actually using the objects that you buy or collect that you think are precious, but also then, surrounding yourself with things that bring you joy that you think are so special because it kind of like it changes the mood. It's like, this water glass I'm drinking out of instead of buying, I know my kids could break this glass tomorrow. It's a crystal glass. It could be broken and then it's gone. But I've got like 50 of them. It's fine. Like,
Yeah, right.
it's even if I only had 10, I enjoy drinking my water out of this gorgeous crystal cut glass. And I let my
Yeah.
kids use them. They're not breaking glasses every day, it doesn't it's
Yeah,
what's happening. So, like, if my
right.
mother would have enjoyed this moment, she would have thought it was so special to, like, look around the table and see that.
Yeah.
But also just you can apply that to objects and you can apply it to your life, truly. Like, we don't want
Yes.
to live a life where we're not, experiencing what we can because we're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yes, it's balance. It sounds like it's a balance of like celebration, valuing beautiful things,
Yes.
and also with an open-handedness of like, and it's just stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I say, like, every day is a special day, okay? So we're like, let's celebrate every day because we're alive that day, Tomorrow I'm gonna be alive, I'm gonna celebrate that day. Like, every day that we're alive is truly a celebration of life, and we truly deserve to enjoy it, to enjoy
Yeah, right.
life, enjoy how we live it and what we do with it and what we use in it.
Yes, totally. So that article you wrote, it resonated with so many people, I think, because we all had a collective stop. Like we literally had to stop running the rat race, and I think that it must have. Well, I'm curious why you think it resonated with so many people because that thing that went viral.
Yeah, it's crazy. That story went viral. So many people contacted me. It really helped me birth the book that I wrote, Joie.
Yes.
And of course, I think that it probably went viral because of the time we were living in. Everything was uncertain. It meant so
Yes.
much more to you
Mhm.
to um, it meant so much more to understand that like tomorrow's not promised because tomorrow was really not coming.
Right.
You might go outside
Right.
your house, it might cough on you, and that might be it.
We
Like
all
it was
felt that
really
at the
people
same
were
time.
dying left
Yes.
and right. We all felt it.
Yeah.
Um, so that I think that's why that it really had strength then. But beyond the COVID moment that we were all the pandemic that we were experiencing, when I retold this story at the Nashville Antiques and Garden Show a couple years ago, just so many people come up to me and they have similar stories. I think we all have a
Yeah.
grandmother or a mother or someone in our life who they have all these heirloom pieces that are so special because they're stories, right? They're stories about our
Right.
family, about places we've been, and they're not we're not allowed to touch them. We're not allowed to access them or use them. And I think
Right.
we but then there's something inside all of us that's like, "Oh, my grandmother, my aunt had this special stuff and I thought it was so pretty, but we were never allowed to use it." There's something about being taught generation after generation, or or across different generations, across different ages, being taught that you're not allowed to enjoy beautiful special things.
Yeah.
Beautiful special things are for a special time and a place. And so when you read this story, even if it's not just about plates, I think that people it goes viral because people are just like, not just the plates. They're like, yeah, I
Right.
deserve, like people start to think about what the plates stand for in their life.
Totally. Like it's magical to be
Yeah.
here, just to be alive. Yes,
Yes.
that's beautiful in and of itself. Yes.
Yeah. So people just like, in Nashville, I just over and over, people are like telling me how that, that touches their life, or I get emails and DMs. And I think it just because, yeah, it starts with the plates because everybody probably has a grandma or an aunt that didn't let them touch something special. And then, yeah, it's like, it's sort of breaking a spell where we're
Yeah.
all taught that not that we don't deserve joy, because I think that is another issue, but that it sort of breaks the spell of something that you've been told, that
Yes.
we don't deserve to touch the nice stuff, or something. The nice stuff is for a special occasion, or you can't go on vacation unless you've done X, Y, and Z. You can't, it's you can fill in the
Keeps
blank
us
of
running.
anything. Exactly. And so I think
Yes.
that when you hear that story, sure, it starts as plates, but it breaks a spell of other things that we've been told generation after generation. And you're like,
Yes.
no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to do it that way. I don't have to live that way.
Yes. Yes,
So I
totally.
think that's why it's gone viral and resonates with a lot of people.
Totally. Yeah. Um so the book is called Joie, and absolutely highly, highly, highly recommend it. Well, to anyone, and I've sent it to a bunch of people. But what are you up to now? What's coming up for you? What are you like kind of putting your heart into now?
Yes, a lot of things. My retreats, I'm always putting my heart into those
I
because
am
I love
so
meeting.
excited to look up
Yes,
the retreats.
I know. I love meeting women every year. So I have two in Provence and then a third that I'm working on, hopefully posting in the next few days or so. That's going to be the French Riviera. Because first we do like the Provence
Oh.
ones, and this will be like a long. I know there's something about just looking at the water while you
Oh,
live your life every day. I mean, like,
totally.
there's
Yes.
something about the south of France in general, whether it's Provence or the Riviera, that drew artists and expats and women
Yes.
artists and painters, for a reason. So I love to I think it's a good place for people to experience the good life, and I'll just keep going back there, and I can't get enough of it. So I'm working on that. And then I just wrote, well, I wouldn't say just, it's it's a long process.
Right.
Fairly new, called the Joie Journal,
Oh my
and
gosh, beautiful.
is guided journal for living a more joyful life. It is really intended to inspire you because, I explain a little bit. Like, I know that there's gratitude journals and writing what you're thankful for every day, and I think that's great, and people should still keep doing that. A joie journal is a little different. It's about being more intentional, whether you plan what you're going to do for that day that's going to bring you joy, and then
Mm,
you reflect on the actual thing that you did. So there's
yeah.
sort of challenges that take you through that and little essays to inspire you, but it might just be like you wake up in the morning and you're like, what's going to bring me joy today is like making a playlist and listening to it while I, do my laundry instead of just doing laundry, like laundry is not fun.
Yeah.
Anya, who loves laundry, no one loves laundry. But like it could be fun if
Yes.
you're like listening to like your 90s playlist, or it's going to
Yes.
be like, I'm going to call a friend and I am going to take an hour and a half and I'm going to have a lunch and we're going to chat and we're going to giggle and it's going to be great. Or I'm going to Zoom with
Yeah.
my high school friend, my high school best friend this week. I'm going to schedule it. And so
Yeah.
it's encouraging you to like make time for joy, but also just like, it's not about just saying, I'm thankful for my breath. I'm thankful for being alive. I'm thankful for my kids. That's good. You should be. But more intentional about what you're going to do to seek joy.
Kind of romanticizing your life intentionally.
Intentionally. It's action,
Yeah.
very, very action based. It is what
Yes.
you do, not
Yes.
just general things that you're grateful for. So,
Yes. Okay.
this is what
Oh
this
my
journal
gosh.
is, and I'm very
Beautiful.
excited. And I'm also currently writing a book about beauty and French design. So,
Thank God.
I
We
know.
need more of you. Even your tone, I was like, I pulled this book out again in the last couple weeks, like prepping for this. Even your tone, guys, a lot of women listening to this podcast. I think it's really important to learn from, to go on the pursuit of becoming a relaxed woman yourself, but we have to learn from embodied relaxed women. And that is who you are. And that
Yes.
is like, I just highly encourage everyone to get
Yes.
in the atmosphere of women like that. And this book is one of the ways that you can do that. It was for me, big time.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank you
so
so
welcome. I really
much.
mean it. My last question, really quickly, is who inspires you?
Oh my goodness, who inspires me? You know, I get asked this question a lot.
Oh, do you?
And
Okay.
yeah, and it's funny enough, I don't have like
A
the
quick
most.
answer.
No, I mean, it's, and maybe it's also cliche. I think that my mother, who's no longer alive, my grandmother,
Sure.
who's also no longer alive, and her sisters, who are all no longer alive, they all inspire me. They were these
Yeah.
amazing women in my life, and now I don't have any women in, like, family women in my life at all.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
but they left something so deep on me, which wasn't, they weren't really in pursuit of beauty, in the sense that I am now. They were definitely in pursuit of joy and gathering and fellowship. It was so important to them.
yeah. Yeah.
They loved, I mean, they would sit around cackling in the living room, telling stories. Nigerians are such great storytellers, telling stories and laughing. Every Saturday, we got together with other Nigerians in the neighborhood. That, and things aren't perfect; they're not planned. So while I'm not perfect, but I do like, a beautifully set table, which is not perfect, but just I like, I care about all the table stuff. They didn't care about that. They cared about the fellowship.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
has inspired me a lot, um, in the sense that they also left Nigeria to move to Texas away from some of their family, but then they created a community, which is what I really try to do here in Paris. And it's not just, sure, I invite people to my house a lot, but I want to have like a tight community, like people that are like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm nothing. Want to come over? And we just like come over and
Yeah.
have some food and have some drinks. And it's not,
Yeah.
nothing's perfect, nothing's planned. It's just last minute. Let's sit around on the couch, chat, sit on the
Yeah.
terrace. That inspires me because I wanna live that way, and I hope that when I'm
Yeah.
gone from this earth, my daughter will also live the way that I'm continuing on my mother and my grandmother and her sisters.
And the way that you are inspiring so many people to live now,
Yeah,
which
I
is
hope
so
so. I just
beautiful.
wanna inspire people to
You are.
gather and be with people they love and to enjoy their life and find joy.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes, you do. I am so glad that you came. So glad that you said yes. It's so lovely to talk to you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Substack, Notes on Joie on Substack.
Oh.
That is my Substack, and I'm on Instagram as Madame de la Maison, which is my
Mhm.
creative studio and output, and at Ajiri Aki, also 2 accounts, and that's where you can find me, or you can sign up to come join me in the south of
Yep.
France.
Meet you in person. Amazing. Well,
Exactly.
thank you so much. And everybody, please pay attention to what she's doing, especially if you also feel inspired by beauty and everyday celebration. And like we said, being a relaxed woman. Thank you so much, Ajri.
Thank you for having me, I appreciate it.
Of course. Bye, guys.